Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today I have another Nuke Guide tutorial for you, and this time I'm going to talk about defocus. What are the things is required in order to do the proper defocus, how to set up in Nuke, and what are the problems you're going to face while doing a defocus and how to tackle them. So let's get started. So you can see on my screen I have this small setup here where I'm going to explain you the defocus method. Also I have a small explanation about the process of doing a proper defocus in Nuke, what are the tools we have, and also some tools and gizmos from Nukepedia. So we will going to talk about all those things in this tutorial. So the first I have a small explanation about the defocus guide. So we will going to take a look at this one first, then we will jump into the Nuke and we will do the practical thing. First everyone have a question like, what is defocus? Basically we are simulating real camera blur. So it's a blur, but it's not a normal blur node that we are doing in Nuke. So if I open this one, so these are the some examples you can see here. See the first one, in this one you can easily see there are two examples, and you can see this background is focus and this background is defocus. It's create depth from separating a subject from the background, and it's also looking very nice when we view this kind of image. Instead of this everything is sharp in this frame. If you can see this one is very shallow depth of field. You can see this is like a micro photography, and you can see the defocus here also. So these are the some examples. You can see this is very close to this small leaf. You can see the how defocus this thing is. This is not just the normal blur. We will going to see the difference between the blur and this defocus thing, and this one also. You can see these are some of the examples, so we can understand why we are doing and why this is important. Now let's close this one. So we know this is why we are doing the defocus, and what is the defocus and why defocus. Just like we talk about separating subject from the background, so like this one, and also is force audience to look at a specific area in this frame. You can see in this example also, we when the background defocus, our eyes directly going to the sharper areas. So when something is blur, our eyes is not going to view this point, always see the sharp area, which is this part. So that's why if I open this one here, so this is very extreme example. So in this one we can see everything, but our eye directly goes to this part, because this part and also this line, this area is very sharp and all other area is very blur out of defocus. So it's also trigger in your mind, we have to look here directly, not everywhere else. Now this is very simple explanation about the defocus. I'm not going very deep into the defocus thing, why is happening in the real camera, what are the conditions required in order to do this kind of defocus and this kind of defocus. I'm going to explain you how we can achieve, how you can simulate this kind of defocus in Nuke with proper setup. In Nuke, let's open this one. So let's first understand the depth pass. So we are using a depth pass in order to do a defocus like we saw here. What depth pass is tell us, it will tell this part is need to be defocused, or this part also need to be defocused, and this area, this whole line is need to be sharp. It's just information about the scene in a value base. So if I open this one, so depth pass is a single channel map that represent the distance from the camera of each pixel. So just like we see, so distance from the camera means this object is how much far away from the camera, and how much object this object is far away from the camera. So if I open this one, so different types of depth pass, because if you see in Nuke we can see the range of the depth map is like 1 to 0 or 0 to 1, or we have a full depth value. Full depth value is like in the real world real values, and these are normalized value you can see here. So this is the actual distance from the camera. So if I open this one, this is like 1 to 0, which means here value will be 1, and as we go further, here value will be 0. The 0 to 1 means it's basically a reverse. So it's like we have 0 here and 1 in the far away. So in Nuke, our scanline render is producing this kind of map. So if you are using scanline render, can output by default 1 to 0. We can convert this map into full range. We will see in the Nuke, and let's see this full depth. So this is the full depth map will look like. You will not gonna see anything here. You can see it's totally red, but it have range. So when you zoom in this second image, you can see here what I am doing here. I'm just exposing down, so then I can see this entire range, and this value is like this value is real value. I mean what I mean, just like maybe from this pixel is 2 meter from the camera, and as we go further values increase. This is like 1000 meter from the camera, like this. So in CG we are getting this kind of map, and in order to view we can see this kind of value with this kind of range, but this is the actual distance from the camera map you get from CG. And we can also convert this map can convert this one into full range map like this. So we will see in the Nuke how to do that. So let's close this one. Now we understand the depth map, what is the depth map and the value range and all the types of depth map. And let's talk about the defocus node. So in the Nuke, these are the default nodes we get. This is the normal defocus. This is the ZDFocus, which is going to use your depth map in order to apply the defocus. And this is the Convolve. This is very helpful also. We will talk about this one also. Let's close this one, and if you open this one, you can see in the ZDFocus and Convolve have this filter option. So what is this filter option is? So let's open this one. So this is the filter shape. We also call the kernel. This is the real camera bokeh filter shape from the Compositing Pro website. So he shared this thing. I will put the link so where you can download this thing. Way to use and why to use this one to simulate the real camera bokeh / kernel shape. As we saw here, let me open this one. In this image you can see these are the circle, right? When we do defocus we get these circles. These circles have its own characteristic, different shape based on the length, based on the camera. So let me quickly show you some other examples what we have here. Yeah, so in this image you can see these bokeh are little bit different than this one. So this circles thing we call the bokeh shape, right? In this example we're not able to see much. Here you can see in this one you can see very nice bokeh shape. So these bokeh are very characteristic, very artistic choice. So what he basically did, he captured the real bokeh shape from the actual photography or something. So this is the real bokeh shape you can find, and he shared this one for free, so you can download from his website. I will put the link below so you can download from there. So we need to use them to in order to do the proper bokeh shape. And in order to apply a proper blur to the image, how much blur is need to be applied, we also need to use a camera. So in the camera's properties we are using like f-stop, focal length, sensor size, and the focal distance. So the focal distance will tell us the distance from the camera and where to focus. So in this image you can see we are focusing on this car because the actual camera is focusing here. So we also have to know the distance from the camera to the subject so we can focus here. We will see in the Nuke how to use the camera input also. Now the last one, it's very we need to see this one also, right? So the defocus, whatever the defocus we are doing, it's a 2D defocus, but we also have this deep defocus, right? Let's open this one, 2D defocus. But let's see the 2D defocus first. We will talk about the advantage and disadvantages. So the advantage 2D defocus, like using ZDFocus or some other gizmos, it's fast and easy, and you can change or manipulate easily. So if you get some artifact, you can do some stuff, and you can solve that issue easily. It's create artifact. As I said, now it's creating artifact in the edges. We will see that. And the defocus animation is not smooth. So let's close this one. Let's see the deep one. So in the deep we have the advantage like accurate and no artifact. So as I said, the deep value is we get very accurate defocus from the deep by default, and smooth defocus animation. So when we animate that focal distance from this object to another object, the animation is very smooth. It's like very smooth compared to the 2D one. We will talk about that one later. And the disadvantage is like obviously the deep is very slow, and we can't change much. As I said, if you get artifact, it's very hard to change. We have some solutions, but it's very limited. You can't change much in deep defocus. So which one should I use and when? So depends, totally depends on the shot, it depends on the sequence, and depends on what you are doing. So if you are using 2D stuff totally, so definitely don't use deep. If you have a deep data and if you are getting some artifact in 2D defocus, definitely use deep. So this is very two conditions where you can use deep or 2D defocus. We talk about these things. Now let's jump into Nuke and see the whole setup. So this is the Nuke and we going to see the from top to bottom. So let's first zoom in here and we can see we have a depth map. First we need a depth map, and so in order to get a depth map we can generate from scan and render, or we can import from a read node. So these are the two options you can get. There are other options. You can use machine learning to in order to get a depth map, but you need to render. So that's why I added a read node so we can understand easily. Alright, so here I have very small setup here just to explain you the setup here. Let me view from scan render. So I have these three objects and a ground where we can understand the depth pass. So this is the camera it is looking at. So by default scan render is outputting depth output. You can see here red, green, blue, alpha, and this is the additional pass. So this is the depth pass. So if I view from here, so this is the depth pass. So as I said, scan render is providing a depth pass from higher here, and as we go further the value is going down. You can see here if I hover over, you can see in the red the value is like 0.088, right? So if I select 1 pixel here, you can see value is half, so now it's 0.04. So this is the map range we have. We can directly add a defocus here. Let's quickly add and I will show you. So let's add the Nuke default ZDFocus. So this is the by default setting of the ZDFocus. I will explain you what are the things you need to properly add in your ZDFocus node when you are using scan and render depth output. So in the ZDFocus, first thing you need to select your channels, and second thing, make sure you use GPU if you have, so it will run faster, and then make sure you select your depth path. By default it's have selected this depth channel here. Then the most important thing, you need to use the math operation. If you open this one, here are many operations here. So you said which one to use. As I show you before, this depth map is like we have a higher value here, and we as we go further we get lower value. So that means our far is 0, as we go further is getting 0. So that is this mean is basically asking us to, you have a depth map, but you need to also tell the ZDFocus the range of your depth map. I mean it's a 1 to 0 or 0 to 1, or it's a full range depth pass. In this case my far is 0, so I'm selecting far equals to 0. Now if I view and if I select the RGB, and if I move this focal point like maybe here, and let's increase this amount or this amount, then we get a proper defocus. So if I messed up here, like if I select this thing, see everything is gone. Even we selected the proper depth path or everything, the result you're not gonna see the correct one, because we selected the wrong math to our depth map. And if I select like far equals to -1, this was also messed up. You're not gonna see much defocus here. So make sure you select proper math based on your depth pass. So make sure always sample, make sure to sample the value is increasing as we going from the distance, or is decreasing. You need to check that first, then you can select here, then it will work properly. And that's it. This is very simple setup. You can just add this one and can increase the defocus amount, and you can animate this point also. Like I can put it here and I can put it here. You can see it's very heavy defocus amount here, just to explain you. So this much we can do, and we can also see if I put it here, and we can also see we get some artifact here. We will talk about how to solve, because this is very extreme, so we don't need to go that much extreme. If I so we will go talk about this one, how to solve that. So this is the default one, and in the other side, as I said, we can convert this depth map into full value range. I mean the real camera. As we go from here, from here to here, value should increase. In order to do that, we can use expression node, and let's connect here. And in the expression, make sure you select your depth path here, and we just need to type 1/1/z, and that's it. So when you do that, you can suddenly see the depth map is getting pure red. And if I just decrease my exposure, now we can see now we are getting proper depth range. So this object is very close to the camera. we can see the value is 11. For example, here this value is very far away from the camera, you can see the value is getting 24, and this is very exactly the same as we see from distance from the camera here. By default in the scanner render is normalized, that's why you get this 0 to 1 range here by default, but we can convert that into full range, so we get actual depth values. Now we can put ZDFocus here, and we can do all those things like selecting channel, GPU, depth channel. All right, and because we change the math of the depth pass, we need to also change here. So now it's a proper depth value, so there is no these all are normalized math, but this depth is not normalized. This is a full range depth value. We need to select this depth, and then we can select this and move it here, and it will do the proper defocus as we saw. So if I increase the value 100, you can see here, and if I do the same here, I move this here, and you will going to see the both are the same. You can see I'm doing 1 to 1. They both are doing exactly the same defocus, but they both have a different math. This one is far equal to 0, and this one is depth. Defocus setup and amount is same, 1 to 1 matching. If I zoom in here, you can see there are some small change in the fall off, but everything is same. You can see here also defocus change. The edges, as we saw, we are getting some edge issues. That's not the point, but the defocus is same. This is the thing, and this is the thing I want to show. So this is the depth pass we can use like this. Like we use the defocus, ZDFocus, we have the defocus and convolve also. So if I use this node, so this defocus is like when you need to do overall defocus with the background, so that time you can use. So let's use 10. So people are confused about this thing and blur, so they both are not the same first thing. So let's connect and see the difference. So the amount is, I set it 10, and let's put the 10 amount here also. You can see the difference. Let me just increase the value a bit higher, so we can see that. So you can see they both are not the same thing. In the blur we can see the shape, but in the defocus it's not the same. So the characteristic of these two things are totally different. In the background you can see it's getting very blur and we can't see the separation, but in the defocus we can see the line is going like this way. You can see the pattern. It's very nice here also, but here is very extreme. Don't think that they both are doing a defocus thing. The blur, the math is totally different. So whenever you see the camera blur in the background, or if you need a constant background blur, you can use a defocus node. And if you need a proper depth like background blur, foreground blur, and where you focusing, use ZDFocus. It's very simple. And the convolve is like let's use that convolve also. So the convolve is also a constant defocus, but it requires a filter shape in order to work. If you open the convolve, there is no such properties, like we just have channels and use GPU and the filter shape what you need to add here. So we will going to talk about this one also in the bottom, how to set up this thing properly. So let's add back here. So these are the new default nodes, and here I'm showing the same thing, the defocus setup here. And so I have this image here, so let's quickly use the defocus node. As I said, if you do a defocus, you can see we are getting we are doing a defocus, and as I said, we're getting this bokeh shape, this filter shape. So this is the bokeh shape we are using. So this is very good example for convolve. So if I use a convolve node here like this, but it's require a filter shape. So in the bottom I will explain this filter shape. I'm just first quickly just grabbing this one filter shape here, placing here, just connect this one here, and filter channel use input. So now is doing a defocus. In order to reduce the defocus, we need to add a transform, and we can just scale this thing, and let's match the amount from here to here. Let's use maybe 40. So you can see the both are the same, but there is a difference in the bokeh shape. You can, if I zoom in, so in the defocus you can see it's perfectly circle shape, but in the convolve it's not a perfect circle shape, and you can see the bokeh is slightly changing. This is pretty much round shape. So if I take some different shape like this one, you're going to see a big difference. You can see now. So this is like a crazy different shape, but the blur amount is almost same. Only thing is changing is the bokeh shape, the kernel, what we're adding here. So that's why this thing is very useful. So I have this forest scene here. So I will explain this one in this shot. So this is a full CG shot. We have this depth pass. So this is a full range depth pass, you can see. First let's see the ZDFocus. Add the ZDFocus, and as I said, change this to depth because it's a depth value, and then we can point somewhere else and it will focus. And we can also do this in the output. We can see that focal plane setup where it's focusing, and we have this depth of field. If we increase, so this will focus area range. So this green, it will, everything will sharp here, and this is out of focus, this is out of focus. So this will be the sharper area, 0.5, or sometime I put a 0. When you see the result, you can see this much area is focusing. So if I increase this one, you can see this much area is focusing now. This much area is in focus. You can change how you want, but you can see now this much I added and it's look like a miniature scene. The point is I want to show you the defocus setup. This is very simple one. You just add this one and it's good to go. And similar thing, if in the ZDFocus, if I add this filter shape, and if I tell here the filter type use image and use image input, then you will see the bokeh shape here also. You can see how this is looking. So this is the default one what we have in the Nuke, the disk shape. You can see here. So this is the disk, and if I change this to image, you can suddenly see how this thing is completely changing the image. So this is the thing is happening in the camera lens. So let's see the tool set outside the Nuke in the Nukepedia or some other website which is available, so we can use those to do that proper defocus. So the first thing, we have this Pxfdeep tool here. So the Pxfdeep have very nice tools here, like this is ZDFocus one. Why he made this tool? We already have this ZDFocus, right? So the advantage of using this one, we can use real camera information here in order to properly add a depth of field. And by the way, what is the depth of field? Where the focus area is, this is called the depth of field. All right. So if you go to the tab, you can see we have all these options here. Same thing, depth, we need to select the depth and the focal distance, size, and all those things. But the tab here, the lens simulation, if you enable this one, we can tell the node that our scene scale is like meter or something, and we can add a focal length, f-stop, and we can directly pick this information from the camera. When you click this one, it will pick from the actual camera. You need to select the camera first, and then you can pick. It will add all this information here. And the second thing, we have like same thing, but for the deep, we'll talk about this one. This is the older one, but this one is the new one. This is the, I think this is the older one. In this one, we don't have the lens simulation. And we also have this magic defocus, defocus early. This is the K defocus, and this is the cat eye defocus. All these things are doing one thing. They're doing changing the bokeh shape with cat eye. So the cat eye is very different defocus look. You can see on my screen. So this is the cat eye defocus. You can see in the center, we can see proper circle bokeh shape. So as we go further on the edges, we can see the bokeh shape is not circle anymore. So it's like a cat eye. So that's why this called the cat eye bokeh. And you can see in the edges is getting swirly also, is getting circular shape distortion. So that's why this thing is called the cat eye defocus. So we have a dedicated node for cat eye and the swirly defocus and magic defocus. So all these are doing the same thing. We just need to plug. If I open I like this magic defocus because it can use your depth pass, and you can just enable this non-uniform bokeh, so it will convert that into a cat eye defocus. And this one, we don't have any depth pass option here. And this K defocus, it have its own. This is also based on the ZDFocus. This cat eye also just a overall defocus. There is no depth pass option here also. And this node is like optical ZDFocus. This is ZDFocus but with the camera input. As you saw here, the Pxfdeep have a camera information here. We need to pick every time, and it will not gonna animate as we change the camera. If we change the camera in the scene, we need to again pick here. You don't have actual camera input here, so we can live connect the camera input in order to get the camera properties. But in this node, we have image, filter, and the camera properties. So what does that mean? We just need to connect the camera to camera, and it will fill this area here. We can tell the meter, and now we can sample the depth path. We can add the filter shape, and this is very useful node. In the studio, we also have this node, and sometimes we are using this one over the ZDFocus or over any other 2D defocus node. This one also very good alternative tool for defocus. Now let's talk about the kernel shape. So as I said, I have this setup here. Let's view this. So these are all the kernel shape you can get for free, and all these are real photography lens. kernel shapes. As I said, as I show you the above this image, and I'm just making a depth pass using a roto shape. Let me show you. So this is a depth pass I created. What I did, I just draw a roto here. So this is the alpha. I blur it with this one, crop it, and I'm using a copy node, and I'm using this a input alpha and putting into a depth.z. So now let me just view this RGB, and now I have a depth channel, so I can use ZDFocus here also, and I can select my this thing. So in order to, I need to sample this thing first, what is my depth channel is. So you can see in the center I have a larger value. So as we go further, we can see the value is getting less. So I can use both because I want to focus on her face. So let me just move my pointer to her eye. As we see, the far equal to 0 is better, because as we go further from the camera, the value is decreasing. So I'm just focusing on her eye, and let's increase the value, this thing 100, and maybe this thing is 50. Now you can see pretty good defocus, and in this case you can see we are focusing on our eye, and you can see the defocus happening here, also for the nose, because the nose is close to the camera, right? If I view from the focal plane, you can see this area is focusing. If I increase this one, this much area will focus. Now the eye and this one also will in focus, but I want to decrease this one. I want to only keep the eye in focus. I can add little bit of depth of field. As I said, depth of field is the area where your subject is focused, I mean very sharp. So in this case it's here, this area is sharper, so this is called the depth of field. Now we have this much defocus. Now let's add one filter shape. So let's use maybe this one. Let's use this one, connect this one here, and let's enable image, and make sure you use input in channel. You can see we changed this thing also, and it's looking pretty nice. So that's how you can use this filter shape, and they show you here the convolve you can use like this. If you want to do overall defocus, you can use convolve, because the normal defocus we don't have filter shape option. Every time if you are doing a overall defocus, make sure you use convolve. So then you can use kernel shape to match with the original plate defocus. So this is this. Let's talk about now the setup. So this is the ultimate defocus setup I have. So let's first see the first one. So make sure you have RGB plus depth pass, and as I said, sometimes we need to do unpremult the depth pass, so make sure you add that unpremult. So you may ask why we need to do that. Let me show you why we need to do that. So if I view the depth pass from the scanline render, if I increase the value, you can see this value is like we have value and then we getting 0. So if you view the alpha is not the same, so we get a gradient here, right? So that's gradient is not there in the depth pass, and which is good. So depth pass should be like this. If you have a depth pass, let me just destroy my depth pass. So if I do a premult with the depth pass, so if you have a depth pass like this, here we have, and then gradiently it's getting 0 value, that means wrong. We need a solid depth pass like this. So if you have a depth pass like this, so what you can do, we can do a unpremult again. So then your depth pass will looks good. So let me quickly show you the issue. So if I connect this one here, connect here, and see the RGB. So check here what happened. Alright, so I did the defocus, and let's assume my depth pass is pre-multiply, and if I do the defocus, you can see we are getting this artifact in the edges, because our depth pass is pre-multiply. So we need to unpremult. So that's why I added unpremult here, and you can see this artifact is gone, and it will appear everywhere. It's not like it's appearing here. If I zoom in, you can see here also we can see it's getting wrong here. If I do the unpremult, now it solved the issue. That's why. But the scanner render by default is outputting unpremult depth pass, so you can see. But sometimes you get pre-multiplied depth pass from the CG render, so make sure you have to check the depth pass whether it's correct or not. Now let's go to the bottom, then unpremult, and make sure you add that expression what we are just saw. All these things are if required. If they have that issue, and if you don't have that full range, then you can use that. And then this is the simple setup. Use a filter shape, ZDFocus. When you're done, make sure you only keep RGB. Okay, and this is similar for the magic defocus if you need that cat eye look, and this is for the optical ZDFocus. So as I said, optical ZDFocus is required three input like your image and filter shape and the camera input. So the same thing you can do here, and you can also do the same thing in here also. You can unpre-multiply here, but I prefer doing outside so we can see what we are doing in the node graph. And so this is the Pxf one. Same thing, we can do this thing and same setup, but there is no camera input. We can just pick it here, the values. And this is the deep one. So for the deep one, what we have this RGBA plus deep, and we have this thing what he said. This is the Pxfdeep Defocus. It's require deep plus RGB input and the bokeh shape in order to do that defocus. And in the length simulation we can also add those information. For the deep, we have another tool here in Nuke. So this is the Nuke default bokeh. So this is the pgbokeh. So the pgbokeh requires filter shape, RGB, deep input, and the camera input. So the 4 input it's required in order to do the deep defocus. It's have that the lens simulation tab here, and the optical artifact and the kernel shape and all those things are there. So you can use this thing also. So this is the very simple defocus setup you can apply in your shot. You can see we have many options in 2D side, but for the deep side we have very less options. So this is the defocus setup you can apply. One more thing I want to show you, one more issue you're going to face. Like let me quickly jump here and enable this thing. So sometimes when you see your depth pass, this sometimes when you apply a defocus you need some extra information here. So that time what you can do, you can just edge extend your depth pass. So if I use this one and if I just connect this one and I want my depth pass to be edge extend, so don't do that, and source is pre-multiply. So you can basically edge extend. So I'm just edge extending, and I don't want to do the pre-multiply. See, I'm doing basically edge extending the depth pass where it need to be, and then I'm just adding a filter erode and just filter eroding my alpha, so I can do that. And then I can use the pre-mult option for my depth. Basically I will tell you what I did here. So if I disable, you can see I'm just increasing my depth values, but it's also affecting here wrongly. You can use some other edge extend tool. You will get basically like this. So we are edge extending this one, and then let me add on pre-mult here, and we are good to go. What is this and why we are doing this? You are basically edge extending the depth pass in order to cover all the RGB area and some extra areas. Now let me copy the original alpha also. So I'm just copying the original alpha. Now I have a proper original alpha here, and let me just use this one and do the defocus. So sometimes when you do the defocus thing, you get some edge issues because you're not covering the entire RGB layer, and that will happen mostly when you have a semi-transparent or very thin hair or something. So that time you can use this technique in order to add that whole pixel here. But you can see the defocus is working nicely, but we get some artifact because this edge extend is not working properly. We need that different color dilate or something. We need a different edge extend tool. Let me try this color dilate. I think this color dilate will work. So let's add the shuffle, and let's use stat here and use that here. And then we are doing this edge extension mask. You can see, so this much edge extension we are doing. I think this much is too much, so let me do the 5, and we don't need to do that thing. So we can use this thing also here, and then you can copy the alpha and you can just pre-mult here also. And now we need to add this back into the pipe. For that you can use a copy node again, and just connect this one here, connect this one here, and let's connect this one here and tell this one is like I need a red one into my depth pass like this, and now it will do that. But we need to unpremult the depth pass. So just do the unprimed here and it will solve that issue. So this is little trick. Sometimes you get artifacts, so you need to edge extend your depth path like this, and then you need to add it back and do the defocus setup in a 2D way. Let's see. And one more thing, as I said, you can see we are getting some edge issues here, right? When we do a extreme defocus, let me just show you. If I move this guy here, we can see we are getting this edge issues. In order to solve this one, we need to do a separate defocus for each object. That is the only way to solve this kind of issue. So we can take the help of the deep in this case. So let's try a deep setup and see how this will help or not. So we are using this Pxf deep defocus. Let's try this one and see what result we are get. So let's connect this one because this is already a deep input. Your scanner render is outputting a deep input, so I make sure you connect directly to the scanner render. We have a camera, so let's select the camera and go to the lens simulation, enable that first and just pick the camera values. So it will automatically pick the camera values here. Then we can just, I think, move this around and we can place this boy and it will focus here. And now we need to change here the settings. So I did 100mm and place this one here, and we will see did we get any artifact or not. That's the whole point. And you can see it's almost 0.5. Yeah, you can see when we use deep defocus, you're not gonna see much artifact. There are some artifact. If you go here, there are some artifact, but before and after you can see is doing a proper defocus here and everywhere, you can see. So that's the advantage. And let me just copy paste this tool here, because in this one we have a couple of more options. So let's like this slicing issue, this slicing. So what this tool is basically doing is slicing this image into a couple of deep crop layer, and then it merging them together, and it's applying a separate defocus for all those layers, like this cube one, this one, and this sphere one. So as I said, and we can visualize here a deep slice, and you can see, let me place this boy here and this one here. So you can see 1 2 3 4 5, I think 1 2 3 4 5. So I added a 5 layers, so it will add 5 layers of deep slice. So this is the focal point. So you can see now, so this area also is solved, and now this thing is looking pretty good. So before we get some artifact in the edges and everywhere, you can see here, you can still see this, but now it's looking much better in terms of the shape and everything. So you can solve using deep. Sometimes it will create some artifact. So let's try to do with the pgbokeh also. So let's pgbokeh. So it's called a bokeh node. Let's connect this one. So this thing is required the camera input. So let's connect the camera input, and it's also required a deep. So this is the deep, and let's go here and let's enable the real world lens simulation, and let's increase the multiplier here also and see where we get the focus point. Let me just disconnect the camera input. I just want to do a manual defocus. So disable that lens simulation, and let's increase the multiplier and see the focus distance visualization. So we need to see where we are doing a defocus. So let me just place it here, and let's see the defocus image, and let's, if I increase this much, did we get any artifact? That's the whole point. That's why I'm doing this. Alright, so you can see in this one also we are not getting that much of artifact in the edges. See, you can see, but this thing is doing some bad thing. So now they both are almost looking the same. Now let's compare these two together. There. So in this one, in the pgbokeh, we are getting some more artifact. You can see here. In the Pxf, we are not getting that much artifact. So the Pxf is doing better job here. In this situation, you can see here in the pgbokeh, we are having some issues when you are doing a deep defocus. So this is the another example of like pgbokeh is not a proper tool. So this is explained by the Pixel Fudger in one of his video. I will put the link where he compare the pgbokeh and he tell what is going on in the pgbokeh. So if I increase this integrate depth also, it will not gonna solve this issue. We can still see this thing, and Pxf is doing much better job, you can see. So that's why I always prefer this Pxfdeep Defocus when you want to do the deep defocus thing. So this is very detailed explanation about the defocus thing. Please let me know in the comment what do you think, and if you need any help from me, let me know in the comment. And thank you so much for watching this tutorial. I hope you learned something about the defocus thing. If you have any questions, please put in the comment. I will definitely look into it. Again, thank you for watching, and we will see you in a very next one. Have a great day.